Welcome to That's Good Parenting, the podcast that searches for simple steps to reduce your parenting stress. I'm your host, illustrator, coach, ghostwriter, and podcaster, Dori Durbin. Parenting in today's world is not simple, and I think many of our listeners would love to end with more days feeling like they made good parenting decisions. So how can they do that when they have girls? Simply put, by asking others who we know, like, and trust. It's my passion to provide That's Good Parenting as an easy tool for parents. As well as giving you this free expert content for your parenting, I also help the same family-centered expert kid-size their amazing content for your kids. So let's get to this. Today, we're diving into a topic for families with teen and college-aged daughters. And if you have a daughter really of any age, you'll know what I'm talking about and why this is so important. I'm incredibly excited to welcome our guest today, Suzanne Hanna. She brings a unique and approachable advice for our girls. Suzanne is a life coach for teen and college girls, and she's here to share how she helps our young women feel more confident and understood. I know that saying working in education is challenging, and that's an understatement. There are so many demands on adults and the students. And I know, Suzanne, that you are a former high school assistant principal, and that actually led to your career as a teen and college coach. So if you had one piece of advice for parents who have those high school daughters and want them to live full, confident, and empowered lives, what would that advice be?
The number one piece of advice for parents of the teen girls would be how you respond now determines what she's going to tell you in the future. So if we can really work on as parents to control our reactions, because sometimes they can come at us with high emotions, they can come at us and say some very piercing things, some triggering things. Girls have a tendency to do that. But if you can take a deep breath and respond to her rather than react, what you're doing is setting the stage for her to feel more comfortable to share with you in the future. So I think with girls, how everything we do right now determines how she's going to talk to you in the future. So if you just remember that, there are very high stakes with how we respond to our girls. And if we meet their emotional heightened state with a reaction, then they document that in their heads. Girls are like little detectives. They keep score. And they're going to wonder in the future if they want to share something with you because you might react in it rather than responding like she needs you to respond.
That's so powerful. I'm actually going through my mind right now thinking of conversations where I did react at the high level and
Yes,
to backpedal.
it's so tough. And it's tough because I have a teen daughter myself. And there's a mother-daughter relationship has a level of complication because of the heightened emotional state we both feel. And it comes from a place of deep love and caring. There's nothing like the anxiety that we feel is just from love, but that anxiety translates into our tone and how we approach the girls. And so if we are in a reactive state with a tone that is aggressive or I guess girls don't like to be accused. So if we're accusatory, then we're really like making them wonder, am I going to tell my mom anything else in the future? Like what's the point in telling her if this is the reaction I'm going to get? And and the thing is, we as adults do that as well. Like my friends and my family, like the people that react to me are like and that aren't responding thoughtfully, I don't tell them things. And so it's basically what we do as adults as well. It's just girls are very attuned to our tone and our responses. Yeah.
Your comment on tone is really, really key too, because we don't even realize sometimes that the tone that we have is really reflecting something we're thinking, even if it's not directly related to what our answer is.
Absolutely. And I think we as like humans, we're mimickers. And so we naturally mimic the tone that's given to us. And we know teen girls, they can get that high pitched tone and they can be aggressive and that's just how they are. And it's hard to not mimic their tone. So it takes a second just to take a breath and say, okay, I can have an adult tone and a response. That's not, I'm not demanding and I'm not judging her, shaming her. I'm just meeting her with a calm tone and I'm not meeting her where she is. And it's tough. I'm not saying it's not tough. And we're going to make mistakes and we're going to mess up. That's just part of this wonderful parenting journey, right? But I think that that's a key with having our teen girls feel comfortable talking to us and talking to us in the future.
It's probably some of that is the consistency of how we reply too. Like,
Absolutely.
for instance, you get pulled over driving fast, and whether you get the ticket or not, they come in jacked up and freaking out because that happened.
Right.
If we go to that same level, we've just escalated their emotions that much more. Um,
Right. Yeah.
yeah. And we may never find out again if they're ever pulled over again.
Put it in that teen vault and then it's over. It's so
Oh,
frustrating.
so true. So true. So, as a children's book illustrator, the very first thing that I do when I work with people is to create the main character of their book. And the character is what leads the story for the whole entire book and, tells us what the story is going to be about. So, in your experience, how would you describe your college and teen clients in terms of who they are and what they struggle with?
As a former English teacher, I love developing a main character. Thank you. And the girls love the main character energy. They love to talk about that. But the girls want to feel confident and they want to feel comfortable in their own skin. And no matter what issues or struggles my clients or girls I talk to are facing, those are the two main things they want to know how to get better, like be better versed in how to be more confident and how to trust and rely on themselves. And so I teach the girls that self-confidence is something that we're all attaining at every age. Like it's not something like one day you wake up and you're like, I'm confident, it's over. It's a journey, and it's something that like you'll feel more confident, and then one day you'll just get knocked back 4 steps. But the whole point is that you get back up. And the way I teach girls to get back up is by learning how to rely on themselves. So it goes back to that main character pillar of self-reliance. Because if you can trust yourself to make decisions that are healthy for you and that are kind, then learning to trust yourself, you get that self-reliance. So you can trust yourself to make the decision to get back up and to feel confident to face the next day. So the main character energy for me is confidence and self-reliance. Those are like the 2 pillars of what I try to teach girls. And the beauty of it all is the main character, the girls, all of the answers are inside of them. They all are equipped to find more confidence and to find self-reliance. It's in there. Sometimes it just takes a neutral third party to point it out. Because as we started, with moms, sometimes we come at our girls with the same emotions they address us. And so it can just kind of end up just being like a screaming match or a fight, or somebody cries or somebody goes silent, and it just kind of ends. But when you have a neutral third party that can point things out to the girls, and ironically, what I point out to girls is probably like 98% what their moms have already told them, but they're just hearing it from somebody different. It makes a difference. Yeah.
It's much more reliable if it's from someone else, right?
Right. I know. Like moms are nothing. What do we know?
You had a really great Instagram reel about Band-Aid. And this whole conversation makes me think of that because I think about you're talking about reliance and confidence. And especially when they go off to college, they're on their own and they're looking for these Band-Aids to come hold them together. And the Band-Aids don't always work. So maybe talk a little bit about that so everybody understands what I'm talking about.
The reel I created was specifically for seniors who are heading to college, where, they're almost there. It's the summer. This is when the anxiety and the fear of, am I going to make friends, happens. And so one of the biggest struggles my girls deal with the first few months of school is, how am I going to make friends? I'm worried about making friends. And so what Band-Aid friends are is Band-Aids and friends can provide the same kind of service. So basically, when you've scratched your skin, you have a tender spot, you put a Band-Aid on that tender spot, and it helps you during a time when it's tender and it heals and it does its job. And it's a wonderful thing. And so Band-Aid friends are those friends that we make like at college orientation or even at high school orientation. And those first few weeks of school where you connect with maybe a suite mate, your roommate, somebody in your English class that is just there, and you really kind of connect quickly. Because you're both uncomfortable, you're both a little homesick, you both don't know where, the classroom building is, you're going for your next class, you're not sure what your dinner plans are, so you just really connect. And so Band-Aid friends happen quickly, just as a Band-Aid adheres to you quickly. It's quick cover up of the pain, right? And so the Band-Aid friends do that. And so you could be really quick friends. You almost become clingy as Band-Aid friends. But what happens is when you both become more comfortable in your new environment, meaning you make other friends, you connect with others, you start to kind of take a sigh of relief, like, okay, I live here now, I can do this. Sometimes the Band-Aid friends and you just kind of do this natural separation. which is totally normal because all friendships don't last forever. And so sometimes those friends don't end up being your besties. They were just temporary friends, but they served an incredibly important purpose. And I like for girls to know going in that the first friends you make aren't necessarily the ones you're going to have the whole time you're in college, maybe not even last the first few weeks of college, but that those friends are very important. And I think too, it's a good warning because sometimes you're a Band-Aid friend for somebody else and they are ready to move on. So it's nothing personal that they have met other people and they're branching out. And so I think it's good for girls to go in knowing like you might have a friend that's close to you, but he or she might meet new people and kind of pull away from you. And that's okay. And that means it's time for you to maybe to make some more friends as well. So that's the whole concept of Band-Aid friends. I think anytime you give a student or any human like a good analogy or metaphor, it makes things make more sense.
It sure does. Now, it was a great representation of what friendships are when you first get there. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's great. Well, okay, let's say you're a parent who has sent their child off to college or is prepping to send their child off to college. And I know with having my own daughter, there's like this line between being confident and needing you, being
Yes.
independent and being dependent. And it's like this balance that you just, as a parent, you kind of juggle between and try to figure out which side of the line you need to be on.
Yes.
So, is there a way that parents can recognize when their daughters really need more help than they're really asking for? Because I know sometimes it feels like we need to let them go, but then we also need to pull them tight. Where is that space to figure out what it is they need and when do they need it?
Yes. And that's like the most difficult part of parenting, especially parenting teenagers, is when do I dive in as a parent and when do I let go? And my argument is everything with parenting is a both and. You're both one thing and the same thing. Like you're happy and sad at the same time. We have to carry two emotions at all times as a parent. So that means that you're letting go, but you're also parenting. And I think, which makes no sense, right? It's like the two things at one time, but it really is what has to happen. There's a balance between the two. And my argument is always that parenting is more important now than ever. When your child's transitioning from, let's say, high school to college, this is when parenting is super important because our kids will pull away from us, which is natural, and we want them to. Like we want our kids to be independent and to go into life and to feel confident. Of course, that's every parent's dream. But our kids will show us signs when they need more support. And so, for instance, like girls that are graduating from high school can really almost change personality over the summer and at the end of their senior years. Like the girls who I call like little Miss Perfect, like who get straight A's and who might be an honor graduate and have gotten in their number one school and they're in every club and this and this and this. She suddenly might come home with a piercing, or she suddenly might date this dude that you're like, what are you thinking, girl? Or she might start getting a little sassy where she wasn't before. So she's experimenting with her individuality, and individuation is something that is so important for development for kids. But also sometimes that is just a red flag. And sometimes that means she's suffering and she needs some sort of guidance from us. And so instead of like being annoyed when they do annoying things, because I'm telling you here, it's annoying and it makes you angry because you're like, what are you doing? I've taught you better than this. What, you broke curfew. You've never done that before. Who is this person? She's screaming to you because there's something inside that feels insecure or afraid. And the girls that I've dealt with, the high achievers that kind of get rebellious, or maybe they self isolate, it all goes back to fear. They are afraid, and of course they're afraid. And there's nothing wrong with being afraid. And having a conversation about how, being a freshman in college or any big change as a teenager is uncomfortable. And it's going to be uncomfortable for a while. But what we can work on is getting comfortable being uncomfortable and understanding discomfort for what it is. When it happens, number one, it's not going to kill you. You're not going to die. We're not going to die of this today. Nope, we're not doing it. We're not dying of discomfort, but we're going to recognize it and say, oh, I've got that empty feeling in my guts. It's that feeling I felt when my parents left me. That's homesickness. Here it is. It's not comfortable, but it's temporary. And I'm comfortable with the fact that I know I'm uncomfortable because I know it's temporary and I know I'm eventually going to be okay. And kind of delineating between those two feelings helps kids separate themselves from their feelings and understand that like especially with consideration of homesickness. Like they might say, I'm lonely, I'm lonely. Well, there's a difference between being alone and being lonely. Like when you're alone, that's just a situation. Like you're walking to class alone, that's a situation. It's not a feeling. Lonely is a feeling. And just because you're alone doesn't mean you're necessarily lonely. You can be perfectly content with your AirPods in, listen to your favorite, music as you walk to class. Like you're perfectly happy alone, and that doesn't mean you're lonely. And so, I think just and when kids learn to sit with discomfort and recognize it, I think that is the biggest battle. So when our girls are acting out, there's a deep seated fear, and it's because they're uncomfortable with something. And I think as parents, our parenting is so important at this point because we're teaching them, welcome to adulthood. Like you're not welcome to a whole life of discomfort, right? Sorry, kids. But that's part of anytime we move on from a relationship, from a situation, we get a new job, we move, something tragic happened. It's uncomfortable. And learning to recognize that and to know that, yes, I'm uncomfortable right now, but I'm comfortable with that because it's not going to last forever. And I have the tools to get myself through it. So, circling back to your question, parenting is incredibly important now, but it's more about open communication and having real conversations and talking to your teen, especially the teens heading to college, almost like you would a best friend. And you're not trying to be friend. Like you're not like, I'd caution against parents who are like, let's have a beer together and talk. No, we're not doing that. Like we're not doing that. Like this is when you parent. And this is when it's really important for you to show that you are a true mentor and that you've been through some life experiences and you felt discomfort, but you made it through. So give them some stories about, this happened to me and I was uncomfortable. And it might make you uncomfortable telling them that story, but you need to tell them because they're going to find it from somebody else. They're going to get what they need from somebody. And I want it to be from the loving parent. And loving a kid is not over parenting either. Like I do not overparent. My kids are independent. My son is so fiercely independent. Like his first word or his first sentence to me was, I do it. And I was like, okay. And so like we say that to him, we're like, okay, I do it. Okay, you go ahead. And so it's not over parenting. It's kind parenting and honest parenting. I think that's the key.
No, I love that. Actually, that last bit, there's so much in what you said. I think when parents do go see their kids at college, going back to the lonely and alone piece of that, sometimes I think that if there's the loneliness sense, the kids try to hide it. And I don't know, I'm curious about that piece because we've experienced where we go to the college and the kid is just different. You're
Yeah.
just like, why do you seem different? There's just like this kind of sense around them that just doesn't feel normal. And I remember talking to my husband and saying, okay, do we do anything? What do we try? Like, are we bad parents because we're not like coming up more often? And you're like, what do we do? And later, after time went by, it came up again where we actually talked about it. And the child was like, well, I wasn't being included. I didn't want you to know. I didn't want you to feel bad about it. I wasn't really sure who my friends were. I mean, all of those things, like it was almost like they wanted to hide it from us because it would look like a failure or like they needed us, one of the two. Is that common too?
Absolutely. And I think there's a shame that kids automatically like put upon themselves if they haven't achieved, and especially high achieving kids in college, because it's taken a lot to get there. And, we're open with our kids about how much it costs, about the pressures and this and that. And so they feel this really deep pressure to do well. And I get kind of, I'm a Gen X girl and like, and I get kind of, I don't know if like aggravated is the right word, but I just get impatient with the Gen Xers who are like, well, they don't have teenagers are teenagers and it's always been hard. We didn't have the devices in our hands with, the ability to look at pornography, to make fun of people, to automatically lose your self-confidence, to look at perfect people. We hadn't just lived through a global pandemic. And, I could go on and on about how the world's on fire, right? So our kids have so much pressure on us. And in 1994, when I went to UNC Chapel Hill, my mom and dad could like write a check for $2,500 for my tuition. That was it. For like this huge, great university. That's all it was. And so now, you're budgeting an in-state school $25,000 a year. And so we need to be honest with our kids, like, this is how much we're paying. So they've got that financial burden on them as well. And so my argument is the kids are stressed and they want to protect us, or they want to not look like they have failed. You nailed it when you said that before. And they don't want the shame of saying, I didn't succeed, because we push success, success, success. And in order to get into the schools now, I mean, goodness, what else can these children do? They have like 4.4s. They do everything. They start organizations. And what can these poor kids do? I mean, good grief. They're more mature than we are. And, they do have such pressure on them. And I think they do want to protect us as parents. And so, you know, trust your parent intuition. Like, we know when our kids are off. We know. And you get that little feeling and listen to it and know. And that's honestly why I offer life coaching, because having worked with kids for 25 years, I know that sometimes they need somebody else to help. And honestly, like Dori, a lot of my work is for the moms. I do this to support other moms, because their daughters, I will treat them like my own. And like I said earlier, I'm probably repeating what the mom's already said to the girl, but it's just hearing it from somebody different. And I know I can give moms a sigh of relief. Like, I know my daughter's getting support because she might be homesick. She might be ashamed that she hasn't made the friends she thought she might make. Um, it's just an extra layer of support that moms and girls need for sure.
I think it goes back to what you said about the escalated feelings. I think maybe we don't understand what's going on, but we sense the emotional drops
Yep.
and raises. And I know I've called my daughter a few times, and I can hear her voice that she's stressed, she's frustrated. Everything's fine. And I'm like, no, it's not. I can hear it in your voice. I know that. And
We know.
we get told it's okay. And so then you're on the other side trying to figure out, how do I de-escalate myself and tell myself it's okay, while encouraging her that in figuring out what's going on. It's a lot. And I think that's where, it's actually kind of magical that you could talk to the parent and the child at the same time, and, kind of calm them both down. But
It's interesting though, because like, when I make the Instagram post, like my reels, I'm talking to the kids, but I'm helping the mom.
Yeah.
Like, I'm saying the things that I know moms want their kids to hear and listen to. And also I weave in what I know they need to know, having been, a school administrator for so long and working with the college girls. Like, so it's almost like I'm doing the moms a service, but I'm saying it to the girls, if that makes sense.
Well, look, no, and it's probably, work better because, like you said, they're going to listen to you first, unfortunately for the moms, but they're going to listen.
I know, right?
You're saying exactly what the moms are experiencing.
It is fun. And yeah, my own daughter will come home and tell me something like her favorite teacher told her. And I'm thinking, I said that 10 times, but good. I'm so glad you learned that from Miss What's Her Face.
Oh, that's so funny. Well, I know when I sent our daughter off to college, I was like, okay, I want her to be confident, to go after her goals, to be well-spoken and respectful at the same time. And I really think that your life coaching and your team coaching aims to do very similar focuses, because one of the things you said was that your goal is to help girls excel academically and socially. So are there specific techniques that you use to make this possible for girls and maybe even easy for girls?
Yeah. And where's the easy button? Um, and of course, it's super individual because every girl is different and their struggles are different. But like, for instance, with making friends, and when you start at the new school, or maybe you've moved to a new apartment or a new dorm or changed your major, anything where you're around new people, there are two strategies I love. And the first one is to say yes. Like, if somebody on your hall has the nerve and has built up the gut and the bravery to say, do you want to go grab dinner at the dining hall? Like, of course, with the caveat, this person feels safe, right? Like, this is not some creeper, right? We're talking about like somebody that's safe. And instead of like the first response of, I'm scared, what if, stopping and saying, go. And it might not be a person that you like pictured yourself hanging out with before. It might not be the type of person that is usually your friend group, but who cares? Say yes, go enjoy dinner. Even if you just ate in your room, who cares? Go have an ice cream while you're sitting there, and open yourself and be open to new relationships and to learning that there are so many people on this planet. Because I think I know we live very insular lives now. And colleges are really the only opportunity for kids like staying in country um, to be around so many brilliant people and so many diverse people. And I tell girls every day, like, college is beautiful because you have so many smart individuals teaching you. The professors are so amazing. They love their subject matter so much. They've gotten a PhD and written a dissertation about it. They're researching it and they want to talk about it every day. And you have like 30 acres with all these smart people in 30 acres. And you'll never have that level of intelligence in any other 30 acres in your life. Trust me. Right. And so like soak it up and soak up all the other students that are with you. Because when you say yes to a dinner or to go grab a coffee, you've got a comrade because everybody at that school chose to be there. Some of them, it may have been like their safety school and they don't want to be there, but they're there. Right. And so most of the people chose that school for many different reasons that are the same. And so you do have a lot of common ground. So say yes, like challenge yourself to say yes to like joining a club, to, if somebody says, I'm going to this community event, come with me, go. If it feels safe, of course, but go. And, it might not be something you're interested in at all. It might be like underwater basket weaving, but who cares? It's the only chance in your life you have to try that. So go for it because you're not in that little insular life like you were in your hometown. Um, and so I think also I read in a book called Open Wind by Dr. Julie Smith. I love that book about the concept of being the welcomer. And so instead of like closing off when you get uncomfortable or doing what all the kids do and adults do, as soon as we get uncomfortable, we grab our phones and we go straight into our phones and we start scrolling. We read our texts. They send snaps to their friends. They're always making bitches on their screen, sending pictures. Instead of like grabbing your phone and making yourself comfortable, like it's your security blanket, which it is, like look around the room and the person next to you be the welcomer. You be the one to break the ice. And you can say something so simple. Like right now in North Carolina, it is hotter than the surface of the sun, right? It is so hot here right now. I can't even stand it. And so I would look at somebody and be like, it is so hot. Like that's all you have to say. And the person next to you is going to be like, oh my gosh, I know I'm like dripping stuff. Like, what is this? And then, you've broken the ice. And so then you can ask questions, and college questions are easy to ask. Like, where are you from? What's your major? What dorm do you live in? They're very like surface fun questions you can ask. And so the beauty of the concept of the welcomer is that if you're in a room or like in a classroom before the professor starts the lecture, other people are going to see you talking. And so they're going to think, and they might turn to the person next to them and ask a question. And so then you kind of just break the ice. Because you had the bravery to be the welcomer, it might be that the room starts kind of chattering and you can sit back and be like, did that. Okay. Well, comfortable now. And so instead of like, retreating into yourself like a little turtle in your shell, just say something. And, every now and then the person you say something to might want you to go away and not talk. And that's going to happen. And you're like, oh, that person's not feeling it today. Okay. But that doesn't mean you don't try it with somebody else, in the next class or maybe the next person next to you. So I think like opening yourself to say yes and to be the welcomer are really important strategies. And I think it really helps girls to be brave and try new things.
Yeah. Do you have any advice for girls who feel intimidated by being in such a vast group of girls? And I know we tell them not to compare, not to size
Yeah.
themselves up against other girls, but it happens. So what advice or strategies do you have for that?
Well, that's the age old issue with girls. And I think now, and especially there's this trend right now where everybody's got these huge friend groups. Like they're traveling in like packs. And what happens is these packs, you can't have deep, meaningful relationships in packs. And so then you have divisions because it's normal for people to have like 1 to 4 very close friends. That's like the amount of friends a healthy person needs. Like you don't need more than that because if you're really being a strong friend, like that's too hard. It'd be a full-time job, right? And so what happens is there are these surface relationships where it's like, I had one client call them hey bye friends. And I thought that was so funny. I'm like, they're just bye friends. And I'm like, you're so right. It's so shallow and surface. They're hey bye friends. But on social media, they appear to be like this, congealed like tribe of beautiful people that all love each other and they all comment on each other's posts. But in reality, they're hate my friends. And so I think conversations with our girls about this new trend of the big friend groups and just saying, use your own discerning eye. Like, like there's no way they can all be best friends with each other. And so, like, use your detective skills and no, they're not. And so it's just for social media. It's just for the post. It's surface. And so know that true healthy people have the 1 to 4 best friends. And so there's that piece of it. But I think also we sell college to girls, especially as like the greatest time in your life. And you're going to meet your bridesmaids and it's just going to be the best time of your life. And so, like 2 weeks in, they're like, Suzanne, I haven't met anybody. Like, where are my bridesmaids? And I haven't met any friends. And what's happening? Like, well, because we sell that to you in the wrong way. Like, when you go to college, my favorite quotation is, wherever you go, there you are. Right? Like, you are the same human, you're just in a different state. And life is life wherever you go as well. And so accept it as life is life. And you're going to have to create your own routine with your classes and you choose who you interact with. And you're probably not going to meet your bestie in the first week, maybe not the first semester. You might not meet your best friend until your junior year, or your favorite person on the planet you meet might be the year after you graduate from college. Like, it just might not be the case. That doesn't mean you're not going to have good friends and dear friends and fun friends, like people in, a fun club you have, or, your roommate or your hallmate that you think is hysterical and you just like to walk to class together and laugh, right? Like, those relationships count. And so I think teaching kids, like, it's not like this pie in the sky pinnacle when you get there. It's not like all football tailgating and, you know, pictures of besties. That's not the reality. That's what it looks like on social media. But the reality of life is life. Yeah.
Good. Very good. You don't have to use names, but I think that when we think of somebody who is struggling, who manages to overcome, it's pretty inspiring. So do you have somebody that comes to mind like that?
I do. I have a lot. Oh my gosh. I love my girls. They're my heart. Like, they
Yeah.
just are so precious. And so I had a client who was at a super big university, like one of those like 65,000 people ones. And just was overstimulated, overwhelmed, felt alone. I started life coaching with her, worked on some self-confidence, just, when I work with the girls, they think we're just kind of talking and hanging out. But I'm really like working on some strategies and skills and challenging the girls. And so she ended up getting really close to a group of friends. She ended up actually deciding she wanted to rush in the spring, got into a sorority she loves, met her friends. She got into a sorority and rushed for all the right reasons. Right? It wasn't to like, all the things. We could have another whole episode about sorority. But she found her people and she found her place. And she is so confident now. And it's like, and she doesn't always have great days. Like, there's still hard days. There's still hard tests. There's still, dating certain guys and whatever. Like, there's always that craziness of college. But she really grew and just blossomed into this just incredible human in a very short amount of time. And so I love that story. Yeah, that makes my heart happy.
That is awesome. I'm sure there's many. I won't make you tell them all, but I appreciate hearing about one because I do think that's encouraging to parents to know that there's a before and an after that can occur in a relatively
Absolutely.
short time. Yeah.
Yeah, my goal is for the girls to not need me. Like, I do have memberships where they're like, but I want to hang out. I'm like, me too, don't leave, right? Like, we're going to stay. But my goal is for them to feel confident because it took me until my late 40s. Like, I'm 49 now. It took me a few years ago to realize, wait a minute, I don't have to be so tired. I don't have to be so anxious. I don't have to feel like I have to achieve, achieve, achieve. And I learned how to calm my own nervous system, how to slow my anxiety, and how to appreciate every day and who I am for who I am rather than trying to be something. And I love coaching this age group of girls because, goodness, I wish somebody had taught me that. Because now these girls have like decades ahead of them where they feel confident and they have strategies they can use for the rest of their lives to feel like, whoa, wait a minute, the answers are in me. And I am what I need. All I need is right here. And I trust myself to make decisions that are healthy for myself and that are going to help me in the future and me right now. And learning those skills just, I think, are lifelong skills. So my goal is for them to just learn and not need me and to just go and blossom. And, because I love when girls feel good about themselves. It's the greatest thing ever.
Yeah, the beautiful thing about that too is that they're not 49 trying to start that.
Right. They have to wait. I mean, goodness.
Yeah. Yeah. Not that what you did was wrong by any means, but if you can help them really.
Right. Well, I think we weren't taught. Like, I think there's like an awareness kind of movement, and being like aware. And, we were taught like be self-confident, but nobody like told me what that was. And it was more of an achievement culture, which is still there, but there's also a way to like balance somebody who's anxious and driven. There's a way to calm your nervous system and understand that like your anxiety is there for a reason. And like my anxiety, I had to realize was trying to protect me from things. Like I was afraid of failure and my anxiety was there to like, I guess like amp me up with cortisol to just keep going. Right. And so I think, for girls to recognize like what, like their responses, their nervous system responses, like some people clam up, like some people just get in bed and rock. And I'm like, nope, we got to get up. Like, let's figure out why you're there. Like, okay, what triggered you to get here? Let's get curious. Like, you're here. How does this feel? What led to this? And so we really dig into feelings and getting curious about responses and understanding that, like, when I don't feel good inside, like your nervous system tells you your your heart starts beating faster. Some people get sweaty. Some people's fingers tingle. Some people get lightheaded. Like I tell the girls, like when I feel my anxiety, I feel it like in my throat, like I've been yelling at like a sporting event or a concert or something. It's like I'm like, whoa, okay, why am I anxious? And so you recognize your body tells you when you're anxious before your mind does. And so girls, becoming aware of like, oh, it's creeping up. Okay, it's here. I'm not afraid of it. It's not going to kill me. Right. I say that all the time. Like, this is not going to kill me. We're going to be okay. And it's not going to kill me, but it's here and it's telling me something. Something is making me anxious. Something is off. And to teach them, like, let's get curious, see what it is. And then when it happens, like the strategies to calm yourself and feel safe again and move.
I can't imagine anyone who wouldn't need that, honestly.
Right. I just,
Yeah. I'm like, pick me. Oh, it's great. That is great. Well, while we're on this, could you tell them a little bit more about other services you offer and resources that you have?
Yeah, certainly, certainly. So I offer one-on-one life coaching for girls. And I have an application process and you just fill out your quick application and then I let you know when I've got an opening. And so we start with a consult call and the one-on-one coaching is like the heart of my business. But I also write blogs and I send a weekly email newsletter, which is, it's kind of like where I am, what I'm feeling. And it is always something helpful, like to help moms and girls. Cause I feel like my service is for the girls, of course, but I'm also helping their sweet mamas, right? Like that's really important. And so, yes, I'd love for people to like subscribe to my email, read the blog, follow me on Instagram. I like to make videos and reels because I like to talk to the girls. And like I said earlier, it's kind of sneaky. It's not sneaky because it's real. I'm talking to the girls, but it's helping the moms because a lot of moms forward that to their kids. Like, hey, watch this. And maybe hearing it from just a different person can make it like resonate and land with the girls. And so that's my hope.
And what is the best? Is it your website that houses everything, or where should they look first?
Yeah, my website is SuzanneHannaCoaching.com and Instagram is at Suzanne Hanna Coaching. And so from both of those places, you can find all the links and all the things. Yeah.
We're down to the last minute or two. Is there anything else that you want to tell parents who have daughters right now who are struggling with trying to figure out what their next move should be?
Yeah. Your next move, mama, is in your heart. Your next move is what you know you should do. And I challenge you to take a deep breath and be confident in what you know your child needs because nobody knows your child like you do. And responding to her rather than reacting is the special sauce. And I think an honest conversation too, because if you have been reacting, like sometimes you have to have the honest conversation. I had it with my 14-year-old just last week. I was like, sweet girl, I have come to you at a high state of anxiety because I'm responding to you the way you're coming at me. And I'm sorry. And I'm going to be calmer in my responses to you. And she's like, thank you, mom. I need you to be calm when you talk to me. And I was like, oh, here we go. There's the evidence, right? So I just encourage moms to like Try not to react. It's hard. Oh my gosh, it's hard. Sometimes you got to count to 100. It's hard. And sometimes you got to say, you know what? I need to go take a walk for a second. I will come back to you. And so she's seeing that you're learning how to regulate your own nervous system. You're being thoughtful in your responses. So, but I think all mamas, like if a mom is listening to this podcast, they are an amazing mom and are doing the right thing. 100%. Yeah. If you care this much, you're an amazing human. Yeah.
That's awesome. I agree 100%. If you can say one moment was good parenting, and that's all that you can ask for.
Yes. If you're wondering about your parenting, you're a good parent.
You're a good parent.
Oh my gosh. Absolutely.
Oh, I love it. Suzanne, thank you so much for all your information. I'm actually going to encourage listeners who are listening, if you have more questions, I think you need to shoot them to us so that we can bring Suzanne back.
Oh, I love that. Please ask me questions. I love to help parents. Like that's 25 years of public education. I'm a helper. So let me help you, please.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today, especially.
Oh, of course. It's been so fun. It's so nice to meet you.